razni aditivi koji danas se kad se upakirava razne hrane se upakirava razne nekakve, ne znam, flašice, nekakva pakiranja, onda se mora staviti naravno nekakvi aditivi koji bi to sačuvali. U svijetu, znači svijet je u biti, on je podijeljen, na jednoj strani su ljudi koji su biti žrtve, kako bi rekla, prevelikog konzumiranja, znači velike količina hrane, i koji su koji je hrana već toliko preuzela da jednostavno su vidjeli da imaju ovisnosti s jadla. S druge strane imamo pojavu, recimo, u Africi, velike gladi gdje ljudi umiru od potranjenosti. Niko ih nije, mislim, nikad ne nauči, nikad nije briga za tu sirotinju, da ih nauči da sami proizvode svoju hranu. Dok na zapadu se od posljedica prehranjivanja s ljudi obole i imaju onda velike posljedice nastavno na ove koji s tim da niko se ne bi trebalo bojati COVID-a javno ima imunitet dobar i ko se zdravljani pomire taj bolesti. Ja se ne sjećam kad sam bila prehlađena, ja sam 9 više godina sam na to što obrađeno termički.
Ponašanje. Vegetarijanci i vegani koji se hrane kuhanom hranom također nisu baš najbolji primjer, jer se hrana, znači, u tijeku probavnog trakta se pretvara u škrob, tako da oni isto njihov organizam isto ne može baš to izlučiti. Naravno, bolje nego oni koji jedu meso se meso jako zakiseljuje organizam. Jedna činjenica koju ja ovoga puta želim spomenuti je jedna žena bila je jako bolesna, imala je rak. I njezin liječnik joj je preporučio da jede samo špek i da jede sve priređeno na kuhano na masti, znači na svinjskoj masti. Žena je za 4 mjeseca umrla. Ili priča, recimo, kad su se Amerikanci željeli riješiti svojih zatvorenika, onda su ih hranili 3 tjedna samo mesom, kuhanim mesom, i oni su svi od reda pomirali su, tako da nisu imali snimali više dalje. Jelda posla. Hoću vam reći to koliko je meso štetno za konzumaciju. Mislim, iz više razloga. I radi empatije prema ostalim živim bićima, ali eto, to je tako je to zapisano od prvih tih ljudskih koraka na ovome planetu. A zašto je to tako, to je teško odgonetnuti, jer prvi ljudi koji su bili u biti su bili voćojedi, bili su frugivore, ne? Mlijeko je također jako opasna namirnica za naš organizam, jer mi nemamo enzim za probavu laktoze i također spada u anorgansku hranu. Od nje nastaju osteoporoza, ako se konzumira velike količine mlijeka, sireva, ne znam, tih životinjskih proizvoda, mliječnih proizvoda. Tako da su krive činjenice da ovoga ljudi ako jedu ne znam, meso, mlijeko, jogurte i to, da će se s tim nadoknaditi svoje nekakve nedostatke u kalciju. Neće, nadoknadit će ih samo ako konzumiraju znači zelenje u kojem ima i kisika i imate svih tih nutritivnih vrijednosti koje vaše tijelo lako će probaviti, lako će upiti korisne nutrijente, pogotovo nisu bez veze oni smuti i blenderi, to baš zato radi toga da se razbiju se stanične opne kako bi se što brže dospjelo naš organizam ti hranjivi sastojci kako bi nam pomogli da održimo naše tijelo zdravim, vitalnim, da bi imali puno energije. Otkako sam se prebacila na tu drugačiju prehranu, ne razmišljam više o povratku na staru, jer mi ova više hrana niti ne paše mi, nije mi dobra i stalno mi nešto fali mi ako bi nešto, ne znam, probala pojesti, ne zadovoljava me to, mislim. Kruh i žitarice također su vrlo su opasni, jer stvaraju sluz i imaju mnogo glutena u sebi, začepljuju znači isto žlijezde. Prvo tijelo se želi osloboditi svih tih nakupina na žlijezde. Prvo ide na žlijezde, zato strada, zato ljudi su bolesni. Na štitnjaču, na prostata strada, pa nadbrežna žlijezda. Imate već pojavu male djece koje se rode, naravno nasljedstvom od roditelja, već imaju toliko njime organizam preslab, da su nevjerojatno, neki dan sam se susrela baš s jednim primjerom, gdje je djetetu srčana opna mu je toliko slaba i propusna i dijete ima probleme naravno s bakterijama. Drugo me začudilo sama terapija liječnika, na koji način se to pristupa. Eto, mislim, to su mnoge za ljude nepoznanice koji se s tim ne bave, tako da je sve sasvim drugačije nego što ide jednim normalnim, ajmo reći, tokom u našoj prehrani. Pčelinji med nije bolji od šećera, prvo, jer ljudi kradu med da bi ga pretvorili u nekakvi biznis pčelama, dodaju daju pčelama šećer, znači da prehrane ih, tijekom njihovog tog perioda u kojem one miruju. Drugo, pčelinji otrov nikako ne bi smio doći u ljudski organizam. Bolesti srca, evo vidite kako to može se dogoditi, što se u biti događa. Znači, vrinjem. Evo, vidite, kombinacija naša omiljena, kruh i med. Evo, hladnopriješeni sokovi, evo, to vam je u biti alfa i omega, velim to je u biti sveta ne bi rekli sveta voda, nema veze s tim, nego je to alfa i omega jednostavno da se organizam čisti. Ako želite krenuti sa, ne znam, čišćenjem organizma i ako se želite prebaciti barem djelomično na dio te sirove prehrane, naravno morate uvijek birati komponente koje su čiste, od koga ćete kupiti. Znači, morate imati nekakvi blender, barem da to prije riješite, da vam se crijeva lijepo očiste, da mogu upijati te nutrijente, jer crijeva su puno plaka i teško je to vrlo čistiti. Ima nekakve, danas već postoje nekakve te naprečice, nekakve tvari, nekakvi prahovi koji mogu malo poboljšati situaciju, ali to nije dugotrajno, to je tako kako vatrogasna mjera, ajmo reći. Ovi sokovi to stvarno sprobano i puno sam, baš sa sokoterapijom, puno sam ljudima pomogla i puno ljudi su se riješili svoje bolesti, pa evo nedavno sam imala čovjeka pred jedno par mjeseci koji smo rješavali rak sa sokoterapijom, imala je rak na debelom crijevu i nakon mene 2 mjeseca on se fino počeo se sušiti i tako riješili smo to, naravno bila je izbacio je meso, mesne prerađevine, mlijeko, mliječne prerađevine izbacio iz prehrane, jer ne bi imali rezultate, mi smo morali brzo djelovati. Naravno, odbio je kemoterapiju i mi smo imali rezultate i čovjek je lijepo ozdravio, sretan je i malo opet me nešto kontaktira jer mu nešto treba iz moje trgovine zdrave hrane. Evo vidite, ovo apnjenje isto nastaje zbog anorganskih minerala unošenih u naše tijelo. Ja imam masu iskustva, ja bi jako dugo morala pričati, recimo evo ovog gore primjera. Da na početku kad sam ja krenula, onda sam mislila da moram možda nekakve uzeti tablete, pa sam od mame, moja mama je invalid i ona teško se kreće i hoda, ja s tim sokovima joj pomažem da ona može se kretati i da ide još i dan danas, ona ima 82 godine i ide, imamo u dvorištu imamo stazu kao skije, tam kod mojih, pa onda ja i bratu zezamo kao imamo skiješku stazu u dvorištu, ali to je onako vrlo pozitivno, jer ona se kreće, ona hoda, ona sve radi, ona i kuha, i tako pije te sokove, tako da s tim sokovima se može jako puno poboljšati stanje zdravlja i organizma i dobiti energije. Jer jako je teško i treba veliki motiv da se baš krene na tu sirovu prehranu, to stvarno to treba znati i trebaš imati malo mentora i tako dalje, to nije samo takav, sa sokovima se jako može, ako krenete, počnete dan sa hladnoprešanim sokovima ili tim zelenim smutijima, naravno ne smije se unutra dodavati niti jogurt, niti med, jer onda će vam nastati fermentacija i nećete imati od toga nikakve koristi.
Evo, Nada, ako se ja mogu malo umiješati. Mi smo svi ljudi koji radimo promjene dok smo prisiljeni na njih. Znači, obolimo, onda smo prisiljeni napraviti detoksikaciju tijela, promijeniti prehranu i to. Mislite stvarno da je moguće osobu koja cijeli život, pričamo 30-40 godina, jede hranu i prerađenu hranu, da može sad okrenuti cijeli svoj život na bačke. Čast iznimkama, vi, vaša kćer, kažete da ste to napravili, ali da li je to uopće pametno raditi? Takav šok za organizam.
Ako želite ostati živi i zdravi, onda jako pametno radite. Ako ne želite, onda morate skupljati novce za grobnicu i za doktore. Odnosno za liječenje.
Dobro.
Treba imati motiv, naravno. Možda je vama ovo malo čudno i radikalno moja priča, ali gledajte, ja sam 9 godina u tome, više, skoro 10. Ja sam mnogim ljudima pomogla. Ti ljudi nisu skroz na tom, ajmo reći, levelu kak ja, kad se tiče prehrane, ali oni imaju, znači izbacili su gluten, meso jedu tu i tam možda, mliječne proizvode isto vrlo malo, ali ovoga znači da bude negdje, 80% te voćne, odnosno voća i povrća u prehrani. Drugo je to što vi velite, naravno mora postojati motiv. Ako vi nemate motiv, onda ste tu ste di jeste. I čekate da vas nekakva bolest, ne pogodi, ne spriječi vas u obavljanju svakodnevnih vaših poslova i tako dalje. Dok vi imate joj, umorni smo, ne mre više nikam, danas mi je dosta, meni se to nije dogodilo već 90 godina kako sam na tome. Ja malo spavam, ja svaki dan možda 3, 4, 5 sati, ajde, toliko. Ne zato ne mogu, jer zato je nemam potrebe, radim nešto, imam stalno nekog posla, jel da imam, imamo mi svi, samo kako se rasporedimo, jel da. Po dizajnu smo frugivori ili voćedi, plodojedi, za razliku od karnivora koji imaju kratka crijeva i koje su pogodne za probavu sirovog mesa. Mi ne jedemo sirovo meso, nismo takvi dizajnirani, nemamo takve niti cube, nemamo takve niti unutarnje naše probavne organe. Meso zakiselji organizam i nastaju isto razne bolesti, visoki krvni tlak, unutarnje ovapnjenje, potiče agresivnost. Naravno imate danas te na farmama koje se uzgajaju, tu su sve hrana koja je dodatno, ajmo reći, obogaćena ili zagađena, bi rađe rekla raznim aditivima i raznim ajmo reći tim nekakvim hormonima koji kad ljudi to jedu, onda njih se zadržava u organizmu. Vidite, danas ima normalno pretilih ljudi jer se u mesu se dodaje jedan sastojak da se potiče rast tijela. To ljudi jedu jer iz njihovog organizma se ne može to izlučiti samo tako i onda naravno ljudi dolaze u nekakve preogromne gabarite i nekakve volumene. I naravno tu se onda uz bolesti javlja. Događa se bolesti, pa to je obično su šećerne bolesti ili ne znam, rak jetre. Konzumiranje životinjskog mesa je izrazito opasno. Ja isto nisam u boljoj poziciji što se tiče prehrane. I vidite i sami, i kod klanja životinja oslobađa se adrenalin, hormon straha, koji kod konzumacije mesa utječe na rad nadbrežne žlijezde, ako se to konzumira. Ono odmah trune, da se razumijemo, jer se odmah se mora na neki način to ili spriječiti ili dodati neki aditivi koji opet su za ljudsku ishranu, pa opet vam to lijepo sjeda na jetru. Znači, pune se krvne žile, dolazi do stvaranja visokog krvnog tlaka. Vidite kaj je ljubav od mesa. Zatim, mi trebamo živu hranu, a ne otpadnu kuhanu hranu iz pečenih tjelesa. Eto vam je taj sokovnik koji će istisnuti sve te fine nutrijente iz voća i povrća. I sad se vi sigurno pitate kaj je sa ovim zagađenim limunom koji je tam tretiran ezimazililom ili ne znam s tim raznim aditivima. Pa taj baš sokovnik je za zimski period gdje vi možete fino vam pulpu izbaci, a sok vam fino na drugu stranu vam pusti, tako da je to najbolje. Ja se najviše služim prvom satu sad po zimi dok moram kupovati to voće i povrće još sačuvam nešto ja, nešto mama i tako nešto prijateljica, pa onda na taj način se koristim sa još uvijek tim zdravim, ajmo reći, nezagađenim namirnicama. Drugo, u biti, to vam je neki nevjerojatni ti sokovi. Ja sam bila krpelj, imala sam susjed s krpljom, su borelioza nastupila je borelioza, ja nisam niti znala što je to, nisam imala nikakve simptome, osim toga što su mi se krugovi nekako počeli pojavljivati i počelo me boljeti koljeno, i onda mi je to bilo malo čudno i tako. Sve to, dok sam došla do ovoga liječnica, ona se primila za glavu, bilo je to katastrofa, ona je rekla, to je smrtonosna bolest, ovo rekao, neće mi biti ništa. I tako ja sam stimularno prešenim sokovima, kad sam ja to počela baš intenzivno, samo sam to i malo poslije, mi se počelo povlačiti to i simptomi i sve ostalo je nestalo za nekakvih niti mjesec dana. Riba isto, ona se nije dobra hrana jer se odmah raspada i trune. Sjetite se samo onih raspadajućih srdela koje kupujemo na tržnicama i trgovinama, koje odmah smrdeći mi stavite pod nos, pa vi onda to fino upakirate nekakve svoje, ne znam, nekakva brašna ili nešto, pa ih ispečete, pa onda to, ajmo reći, fino miriši, jel? Mogu biti povući puno otrova, selena, žive i kadmija u okruženju s kojeg žive, obično iz mora, jel? more isto nije baš najčišće, jer imate ti brodovi koji ispuštaju te razne isto vode iz svojih utroba. To su razni oni tegljači. Jaja su isto opasno. Evo vidite što one stvaraju. Njove beljančevine su ljepljive, to stvaraju začepljenje žlijezda i krvnih žila. Ako djecu hranimo jajeva, ona stimulira spolne organe i brzo nastupa i menstruacija, što skraćuje životni vijek i stvaraju se degenerativnosti. Koliki danas mladi ljudi, mlade žene ne moraju imati djecu, jer su njim u problemu baš od te prehrane, su njim u problemu žlijezde spolne. Škrob i bijelo brašno. U biti ta hrana sva koja je ovakvim oblicima, sve su to nastali problemi s njezinom proizvodnjom, znači nakon industrijske revolucije. I onda se ljudi su počeli stalno nešto smišljati i okrenuli su se proizvodnji hrane. Naravno, ako ti želiš nešto upakirati, tu hranu, neki oblik pretvoriti, ti moraš dodati, kao što sam rekla, te nekakve otrove, eove ili kako god se oni zvali. Jer drugačije neće ostati za prehranu, ili će se pokvariti, ili će nastati, salmonela, što je jako opasno, i ostali ako plijesni su jako opasni isto, ako dospiju u krv ili u jetru. Drugo, ja sam bila zgrožena, nedavno sam kupovala neki džumbir od jednog trgovca za svoju trgovinu i velim, trebam bio, naglasak je na bio kao, neće konvencionalni, i sad on meni veli, dobro, evo stigao je, još samo ga damo na fumigaciju. Rekao, niti za Boga. Onda više nije niti bio, niti eko. Tako da, onda sam mu poslala što je to fumigacija i sve to.
Dobio je svoju porciju. Evo, Nado, ja ću vas zamoliti možda neku završnu riječ za naše gledatelje. Nešto kako ćemo zaokružiti cijelu vašu priču, pa možda neko ima i pitanje za vas.
Evo, ja bih poručila svima da se okrenu prema prirodnoj proizvodnji hrane i da ne vape za tim strašnim tehnologijama koje ih neće daleko odvesti, nego će ih unazaditi. Nažalost je to tako. Ja sam malo sad ogolila tu hranu. Možda je vama to malo i čudno, ali to su vam moje iskustva mojih, ajmo reći, nekakvih klijenata, pacijenata, ajmo reći tako, koji su se izliječili od mnogobrojnih bolesti, koji su svoju djecu izliječili od mnogobrojnih bolesti i pomogli su njim da se dobro osjećaju i da imaju jednu kvalitetu života. Dakle, poručujem svima da je hrana u vrtovima, u prirodi, a ne u tvornicama, u nekakvim paketima, vrećicama, i to je to. Hvala na pažnji.
Hvala vam. Ima možda neko pitanje za gospođu Nadu? Svima je sve jasno, izgleda. Aha, sekundu.
Kako je vaše stajalište s obzirom da je zrak zagađen? Pa može i voće i povrće biti zagađeno na temelju tih nekih plinova i dimova koji se ispuštaju iz raznih tvornica?
Može, kako da ne. To je isto zato vidite, trebali bi mi sami kontrolirati s tim da nije toliko opasno koliko ako vi recimo pod svoju biljku stavite nekako umjetno gnojivo i budete ju tretirali protiv nametnika recimo, to je daleko opasnije nego, jer mi smo svi mi udišemo i taj zrak. I te biljke udišu taj zrak. A zamislite vi ako kupite onaj komad šnicle koja vam je opterećena, kao što sam vam rekla, raznim aditivima koja vaša jetra neće moći preraditi. Ovo što ona pobere po zraku, to je vrlo malo, neusporedivo. Drugo, takve biljke se daju očistiti i ja za ove neke svoje proizvode, što se tiče te krekere i za svoju hranu i hranu koja je sad u mojem dućanu. Imam isti pristup, ja čistim sve te žitarice, odnosno ne žitarice, nego su to sjemenke, žitarice ne koristim, jer su one sve su sfumigirane. Ja sve prvo čistim, namačem, ponovo sušim, onda tek napravim nekakve svoje, kreiram proizvode koji su jestivi i zdravi.
Ok, to je to. Nado, hvala vam. Mi ćemo malo pričekati. Čućemo kako pokrenuti uspješan biznis sa hranom, ponešto o konkurenciji supermarketa kao i samoj digitalizaciji poslovanja i to će nam reći direktorica Hatchery Chicago inkubatora Neroli Šmulik koja će nam se javiti preko Zooma.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Neroli. Welcome to the Food Tech Camp. Thank you for being here with us today. On the behalf of Enter Koprivnica and all participants, as we all know, we have so much to learn from you. So please tell us what is your secret when it comes to launching a successful business.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me. It's great to connect with you all. Please let me know if for any reason you can't hear me or if you have questions. I'm more than happy to answer questions, and I look forward to learning from all of you and hearing some of the great ideas you have. So my name is Natalie Shmulik. I'm the CEO of the Hatchery Chicago. We're a nonprofit food and beverage incubator. My background, I've been in the food and beverage industry for 20 years now. I am originally from Toronto, Canada, and I ran my own restaurant there. I worked for supermarket chains and consumer education. And then I did my master's in gastronomy, focusing on food history and food anthropology. And then I worked with Whole Foods and Food 52 on marketing. And about 8 years ago, I started working with consumer packaged goods brands, and then eventually started working in incubation, which is an amazing feature that you all have alongside you as you launch and grow your businesses. So I'm going to start to share my screen to show some slides. Let me know if you're, it's saying that the host disabled screen sharing. If you're able to add me as a host, I should be able to share my screen. Let me know if you're able to make that adjustment. Right now, it won't let me share my screen unless I'm added as a host. Oh, okay, perfect. That should work. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. All right, can everyone see the screen? Yes? Okay, if you can't see it, please let me know. But once again, thank you for having me. This is the hatchery, so the building that you're seeing on the right here, that is the facility that I run. We're a food business incubator. So you can see we have kitchen space, we have shared kitchens, private kitchens, and then we run a whole curriculum where we support companies that are looking to launch and grow their brands. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the new consumer, because in order to really succeed in the industry, we have to know the changing behaviors of the customers that we are supporting. And what's interesting, as I'm sure you've seen as well, around the world, there has been a shift in the type of consumers we're targeting with our brands. And so this is what you're going to see a lot of. There's a new age of consumers with generational shifts that are very much drawn to speculation, that are drawn to really extreme views. So if you look right now, even at content that is shared through streaming devices like Netflix, you're seeing a lot of content focused on drama. So how do we really engage the consumer? How do we grasp their attention? And so as we look at the new consumer, I show this example here on the right of an Instagram page. And this is important to note because The traditional consumer as an individual now sees themselves as a brand. So you're no longer in your marketing or social media trying to attract a person, you're actually trying to connect with a brand. And this is very indicative with the images you see here. So this is one individual's account, but they're telling you about the brands that they like, the colors they like, the aesthetics that they enjoy. And so when we're trying to connect with new consumers, we can't really target them through our marketing strategies and just thinking they're independent. They want to be approached as brands and feel as though they're part of the conversation. And what's interesting is these individuals are using themselves and their bodies as canvases, whether it's tattoos on your skin, biohacking, which is increasingly popular. So how do I achieve optimization of my mind and my body? That's how consumers are thinking. So again, as a brand, you have to be thinking about, how do I engage with a consumer that really wants to receive that optimal sense of performance and are willing to use themselves to test and learn? So how do you be part of that testing process? How do you get your products in front of them? Brands are also, as consumers, now trying to really connect with brands on a value level. So politically, what does the founder believe? They want to learn about you, each of you, who is behind the brand and why. Tell us why you started this company, because that will create a commonality and allow us to connect with one another. So this is a very fun graphic I like to show, because with the changing times, it feels like you can't please everyone. So if you look here kind of in the middle of what to feed a millennial, LaCroix always seems to be, neutral sparkling water, kind of across the board, just appeals to everybody. But the important thing to know is what has changed with the consumer in terms of how they see the term health. We see a lot of brands that focus on being healthy, especially now during the pandemic. One of the fastest growing trends right now is immune boosting products, whether it's a drink. I saw some pictures before of some juices. So whether it's a juice that boosts your immunity, probiotics in yogurt, snack foods that allow us to feel healthier, that's very popular. But it's not just a one size fits all, because we've actually shifted the way we view health. So if you go on Google right now and you type the word healthy, it will show you a lot of images of mostly salads and food. But if you type the word health in Google, there actually will not be a lot of images of food. It will be images of lifestyles. It will show people doing yoga, people on the beach. It will show people traveling. And that is how consumers view health these days. It's not just about me eating a salad. It's about me feeling good about myself. So whether that's stimulating me mentally, so giving me content that allows me to feel like I'm in the know, or it could be an indulgent snack. It could be something that makes me feel like I connect back with my childhood. That is all related to this new sense of health and has resulted in this term of flexitarian. Now consumers view themselves as wanting to make their own choices. And so if you have a brand that is very, very niche, so if you, for example, are strictly paleo and everything on your branding says paleo, or now keto, which is very popular, it is actually isolating and can be a disservice to your brand, because customers want to be able to wake up and maybe have a smoothie for breakfast, have a paleo salad for lunch, but they might want a chocolate cake for dinner. And they don't want brands telling them you can or cannot eat these things. So it's important to make sure that your messaging fits in line with a lifestyle, knowing that customers want to try different things and they want that flexibility, hence flexitarian. The biggest opportunity right now is industry intersections. The food and beverage industry isn't on an island anymore. It's intersecting and conversing with other industries. So one of the biggest intersections is food and technology, especially now as more people are ordering food for delivery, right? We're all looking at different types of third-party systems right now, or doing pickup or going in stores and looking through applications for opportunities to stay in the know. Right now in restaurants and on packages, we're using more QR codes. So lots of development in technology. A couple of products here. These are some brands that we've worked with. Tovala is a smart combi oven. So they actually send you a meal in the mail and they have a barcode that you scan, and then the oven knows how to cook that meal perfectly. So it could steam it, it could grill it, it could bake it, but it knows exactly the right temperature based on the barcode. Ready Hot is a UK company, and it's actually was really intended originally for people who were going camping, but you press a button, you shake it, and it heats it without any connection to any wiring at all. And then Farmer's Fridge is a Chicago company. It's a healthy vending machine, so healthy salads and sandwiches on the go. Food and beauty is another big intersection. So some of you may be looking at that opportunity where how does your product make the customer feel? And there's definitely more and more intersections here, both on the beauty realm. So you can see here a cleanser and a cream. It looks like it could be a beverage, kale, green tea, spinach, and vitamins, but it's actually a face cleanser and a cream. And then you can see other products here that have launched in the US. Vital Proteins is a rapidly growing company focused on collagen peptides. But Dirty Lemon is really interesting because I'll show you some examples of brand evolutions, but Dirty Lemon launched a collagen water and the very first retinol water. So a little bit controversial, but you can see again that intersection between food and beauty. The exciting thing about these intersections are opportunities for industry collaborations. And so for all of you in Croatia, you might want to look at what some of the big brands are doing as well, because they're looking for opportunities to engage with startup brands and actually have more impact on the consumer in terms of engagement. So these are some great examples. I showed you Dirty Lemon. So on this nightstand, you can see Kellogg's, which is a huge brand. They're Fruit Loops. And then you can see a bottle of Dirty Lemon. Now, traditionally, those would not go together. Dirty Lemon is considered a health kind of underground brand. You order by texting, but they partnered with this big brand, which is seen, you know, sugary cereals. But it goes back to this new consumer being a flexitarian. You don't just have to be a health brand and you don't have to just be an indulgent brand. There's ways to build on what the consumer's lifestyle is. And this opened a huge opportunity for Dirty Lemon and for Kellogg's. Kellogg's got in front of a new audience, and Dirty Lemon got in front of the huge following that Kellogg's already has. Other collaborations you can see, Cho Chocolate partnered with Blue Bottle Coffee. So it doesn't always have to be big brands with small brands. It could be amongst some of you in the room. So you may find ways to collaborate and say, I have a coffee company, you have a chocolate company, let's do a limited edition coffee chocolate and connect with both of our audience. And that's proving very, very successful right now. Another one you can see at the bottom is Dream Pops. It's a chef-crafted plant-based popsicle. They partnered with Starbucks. So same idea, this is a big opportunity here. Another big intersection, as I mentioned, with immunity is food and medicine. This space will continue to grow. It's still in its early stages, but it is rapidly growing and it will not go away. We are going to continue starting to explore food as a type of medicine. And we see that here with even the products and their names. So Four Sigmatic, really focusing on adaptogens and different kinds of mushrooms like chaga, reishi, lion's mane, and Farmhouse Culture Gut Shot. So really focusing on probiotics. But even the name of the company isn't that appealing, but it goes back to, if I feel like it will heal me, I'm willing to invest in it. And then of course, there's the marijuana space right now. Cannabis became legal in Illinois in January. And so there's more testing happening around how do we really explore the medicinal sides of marijuana, because it is hyper functional. So people are stressed right now. We know that. We know consumers have expressed more stress than ever before, more anxiety than ever before. So they are looking to food to alleviate those symptoms. And here's a good example of a company that launched really focused on this idea of food and medicine. Dr. Smoot is a chain. They provide juices. It's all plant-based. They make juices, they make healthy bars. But if you look at the shop, if you walk into the store itself, it looks like an apothecary. It looks like you're going there to get medicine or diagnosed. And if you look at the names of the products, anti-ager, medicinal power, cleanser, really focused on the medicinal factors. And this is really resonating with consumers right now. People are spending more money on these types of products. But the key to note is that this wave created a new business model. So the trick for startups right now to really succeed in the market is not to build a brand the way we used to build it. If you look at Kellogg's and Conagra and Mondelez, a lot of these brands were built with products that can stay around for a lifetime, forever. But we know that's not working anymore. So the new brands have to build in this way, as I show these examples with architecture, you have to build for flexibility. The example I showed with Dirty Lemon, the CEO really described that the way they launch brands and products is intended to be the introduction to the next rendition of that product. So they're not expecting their products to last for 15 years. The idea is each product is an introduction to the next product so that customers stay engaged and interested. So it could be a new flavor, it could be a new package design, but they really aren't building the brand so that they have a small set of products and those products are the only products that they will offer for the coming years. They're really trying to create this sense of flexibility. And here's some examples on how these new models are working. So right now, you've likely seen a rise in ghost or cloud restaurants. So restaurants that do not have a physical space in a high traffic area. Instead, they're opening in a shared kitchen or commercial kitchen, and they're only designed for delivery. And what that allows is a lot of test and learn. So you can launch 5 different restaurant brands in one kitchen. You can create a sushi restaurant, a sandwich shop, a soup store. And based on the response from customers, you can either remove one, change one, add a new one, and that's allowing for this rapid testing and ability to evolve as consumer interest evolves. Here's another Kellogg's example where with Pop-Tarts, instead of sticking with traditional Pop-Tarts, they're now offering new renditions of Pop-Tarts based on consumer interests. So gamification, you can see here where they have the Pop-Tarts actually have different bodies and heads, and you can break them and you can kind of play around and move them to different places. You've got a limited edition collection. LTOs, limited edition, is working very well. It's a really good way to engage your audience and keep them engaged in knowing, hey, there's a temporary flavor that we're launching, or there's a new menu item that's only available based on the season. That's really effective. And then pretzel, kind of looking at that sweet and savory opportunity. So with new categories, these are some of the rising trends we see, plant-based certainly. The frozen aisle is one of the most popular ones right now. And if you look on Google search trends, frozen, the term for search, actually skyrocketed. It hit its highest peak during the pandemic because people were looking for frozen alternatives. And now a lot of chefs and a lot of other companies are exploring and re-exploring the frozen aisle because there's a lot of opportunity where frozen can even be fresher than fresh. The other item that I'll mention more about shortly is in retail spaces, it's important to think about how your traditional grocery store will likely not look the same once the pandemic is over. There's a lot of innovation and changes that will happen, and the frozen aisle is one space that we're anticipating will actually grow. So there will be more room in the frozen aisle. Reduced sugar is becoming popular, and then non-alcoholic beverages, so zero proof, mocktails. You're going to continue to see these in restaurants, bars, but then also hitting the market with companies like Seedlip or Partake Brewing, where people still want that sophisticated experience, but without the alcohol intake. And then personalized nutrition will continue to grow as well. So during the pandemic, I'll just share briefly some of the trends that we saw in the US. And a lot of this is based off of internal data, as well as Mintel, IRI, and Data Central, who we work with. So the fastest growing items you can see on the left were all pandemic related when people were pantry loading. So ramen was one of the items that were the most difficult to keep on shelf. Campbell's canned soups were actually a dying brand and they kind of revitalized. And then of course, cereals and alcohol, which we know was going down, actually spiked during the pandemic, but that's all leveled off right now. The items that are new innovation and will continue to grow are things that orient around immunity, boxes, product boxes, where you can have that experience. So this box here is by Stephanie Izard, who's a top chef in the United States. She runs a company, she has 4 restaurants, Girl and the Goat. She actually not only launched a product line, so she has a line of sauces and seasonings, but she created a basket experience where customers could experience her restaurant at home as the restaurants were closing during COVID. At the bottom here, you can see Thomas Keller, who's a world-renowned chef. More and more chefs are actually now either launching product lines or partnering with product lines. And the exciting thing right now is that because of the pandemic, there are a lot of chefs who are displaced and restaurateurs who aren't working their usual hours. So it's a really good opportunity to get your products or meals in front of chefs and restaurateurs who are known to have very, very good response from consumers who trust chefs. We see chefs as being experts in the field, as being representations of food safety. So there's a chance right now, if your local restaurant might not be doing well, or if you know of a chef, it's a really good time to connect with them, whether through LinkedIn or Instagram, or calling them and saying, I'd like to find a way to work with you right now, whether it's trying my product and getting a testimonial, or having you cook with my product, or having you just be a part of it. So maybe you want to be engaged in the brand that I'm launching. This is a very exciting opportunity right now. And if you're going to do it, now is the time to do it. And then of course, at the bottom, as you see here, lots of innovation in the frozen category. The key right now is also looking at how you are conveying your personal mission, your brand's mission, messaging, and utilizing marketing effectively. So one of the items that typically gets overlooked is packaging. We always think that what's inside of the box or inside of the package is the most important thing. And that's actually not true. And we know that more than ever right now, because consumers are spending less time in grocery stores. They want to get in and out because of concerns around safety, concerns around the pandemic. And we're now shifting more and more towards e-commerce, purchasing our products online. So packaging is more important than ever. And it's really essential to take a step back and think about how your packaging not only stands out on shelf, but stands out online. And so you can see a lot of the vibrant colors. Most of these packages were specifically designed for e-commerce. And that's actually very effective because you need to get your message across quickly. Right now, people aren't able to sample their products in stores as much, which means your package has to do even more work. It has to work overtime. So it might not necessarily mean completely revamping your package, but it might mean you want to start including a sticker on your package, something even more effective than normal. We're also going to be starting to use packaging to convey safety, right? As people look for more and more opportunities to feel safe. As I mentioned with packaging, you have 3 seconds to capture the customer's attention. And so we've seen a shift in packaging that wants to get the message across immediately. So here's some examples where with Wild Way, you can't see the flavor of the product, but it tells you the function. And there's a lot of products launching with this tool, which is telling the customer, this is how you want to feel. And that gets their attention. And then they can turn the pack over to start learning more about the product and flavor. So here you can imagine the reaction when you see relax. That immediately has this effect on the consumer who knows that's how they want to feel. So just including more messaging that's effective. So you don't have to have the classified ad syndrome on the package and include every single thing. Nobody wants to read through the full messaging, but if you have 3 ideas of this is instantly how I want to capture the customer's attention, or this is my differentiator as a brand, this is proving to be really effective. Some other tools around technology. the brand 19 Crimes, you can actually download an app and put your phone over and it will start talking to you. So it'll share the story. This has a criminal, they have 19 criminals. And so once you go over with your phone, the label comes to life. So it's another way to interact. QR codes are becoming very popular right now in restaurants with food trucks to download menus, so there's less handling of the products. And then it's also showing up, as you can see here, on the packaging. So if you want to learn more, if the customer wants to learn more, it's not busy with information, but it gives you an opportunity to learn more about the brand and connect with the brand. Some of the strongest messages right now, anything that has a social impact is really resonating with customers. That doesn't mean that you necessarily have to say, I donate 2% of my proceeds to this charity. It could just be your personal journey. Maybe you have a gluten-free product and you yourself have a gluten intolerance, or you have a child who has a gluten intolerance. You can share that story, and that story will be very impactful. Customers want to see people. They want to see who's behind the brand and feel like they're connected. So you can see a couple of examples here. We have Be Sweet Lemonade with a young girl who wanted to share her story. She's right on center. Upcycling is now becoming even more popular. The Upcycled Food Association just created its own label. So they're labeling any brands that use what would have otherwise been disposed. So some examples are Barnana, which uses bananas that would have been bruised. There's Regrained, which uses grains from breweries, so spent grains that would have been discarded. They repurpose it and upcycle it to create an energy bar. So this is becoming more popular. Environmental impact is what customers are also interested in. Not everybody, but it's important to see that, again, connecting to a social mission. Evian launched their label-free bottle to show their commitment to the environment, because the label was the one piece on the bottle that was not recyclable. So they wanted to go one step further. And that's a very bold move, because now it's a completely naked bottle. But of course, it's such a big brand, it's iconic. Chobani launched a limited edition pack of yogurts that all 100% of the proceeds go to Feeding America. This was extremely popular. It went off the shelves almost immediately because consumers not only loved the concept, but really wanted to feel connected. And for some, it was the limited edition aspect. Stacy's Pita Chips launched specifically an online campaign. This was strictly sold online, where they talked about the journey of the female entrepreneur. They wanted to highlight how they support women entrepreneurs. And so they hired female artists to do limited edition packaging. So very effective as well. In terms of social media strategies, there's a lot of ways that brands are really starting to have fun and be a little bit more personable with their audience. So this is an example. You may have heard of this. This was an artist that taped a banana to the wall, and they sold this piece of art, they call it art, for $120,000. So in response, Barnana created on their social media, they did a campaign where they taped their product to the wall and said they were only going to sell it for $99,000. And this just boomed. Their audience grew. People loved the sense of humor. They thought this marketing strategy was really effective. And so using humor and really tying everything back into what's relevant right now is a great way to build your audience. Humor, especially now, is proving to be effective. They were showing data and results around scare tactics, where some people were trying to play to individuals' insecurities or concerns about the pandemic. And that was the most ineffective marketing strategy. They actually lost customers. But those who created humor, who were sharing that they were advocates and supporters of their customers, grew their audience. The exciting thing as well is, as I talked earlier about industry intersections, is it's important to know that how we eat and where we eat has changed and will continue to change. So as you think about non-traditional retail, it's important to figure out where else your product or brand can live, because it doesn't just need to live in grocery stores anymore. So if you look at the images here, they all look like traditional dining experiences, but they're not. The first one is IKEA, focusing on furniture. The second is Equinox, which is a fitness center. Third is Tommy Bahama, which is apparel. And then Kith is athletic wear. So we're creating these new establishments that house everything in one place because we know customers want a one-stop shop. So we're actually finding new ways to add food into regular offerings. And we're seeing the rise of a new type of retail establishment. In the United States, we have Pop-Up Grocer. This is a very small grocery store that only opens for 3 to 6 months in different locations. They started in New York, they shut down, then they opened in Texas, closed down, and they move around. But they've built such a strong following that brands get excited to be part of this pop-up and consumers get excited to follow and really find new snacks and new products in here. So we're going to see lots of smaller footprint stores, maybe temporary and pop-up spaces. So you might find that, especially now, if there's businesses that have closed down, there might be empty space that's available for a couple of months. So you can create a fun experience for your customer and build it around your brand. Here's an example of Erewhon, which is a hugely popular supermarket, high-end supermarket in California. They completely converted their bulk bins. One thing that we know probably won't return after the pandemic is traditional bulk bins, as well as hot food bars, traditional hot food bars, which means there's an opportunity for you to connect with your local retailer or supermarket and try to help them with brainstorming how they convert that space into something new and innovative, which may include your products. So those partnerships, retailers are as confused as anybody else, and they're trying to find solutions, but they know part of their retail footprint will have to go away and make room for something else that's a little bit more appropriate for the times. So it's always good to start building those relationships right now. One thing we developed is what we call an e-store theory. So when the pandemic hit, it was the first time that many food and beverage establishments and brands actually were owning and given this term of essential business. Food has always been considered essential, but this is the first time that most of these businesses actually had to figure out what to do with this new label. And other businesses were not deemed essential. So what that means is a lot of restaurant spaces, retailers, and otherwise are going to be thinking about how to remain an e-store, an essential business, which means that some of your local gyms or fitness studios, maybe some of your co-working and office spaces, spas or other retail establishments, art galleries, are going to want to figure out how to remain essential. And that's where you can come in. You can start working with some of those spaces and finding a way for them to sell food and maybe your food so they stay open. So we've already seen in some gyms where they might sell meal kits, but they can convert part of their space to be a convenience store where you can pick up some bars, you can pick up some chips. And this is something that will continue to be top of mind. And so now is the time to start thinking about how do you partner with these spaces? A lot are trying to create micro markets or meal kits. This is an example of the Lululemon store in Chicago, where not only do they sell Lululemon clothing, but the top floor has a cafe, has a meditation studio, and they have fitness classes. So everything all in one, and that allows them to stay open. So you're going to see more of this coming forward. In terms of opportunities, there's a couple things just to keep in mind. Certainly technology will change. The way people order food has changed. Spacing of environments has changed. But again, you can really start exploring what are some new habits. So one thing we know is that more and more people are working from home and will probably continue to do so even after the pandemic. So we are now trying to think about architecture and what role food plays in the home. Because now your home is not only where you have breakfast and dinner maybe, but it's also where you're having lunch. It's where it's your office, it's your gym, it's your place of entertainment. Everything is fitting into the home right now. So what we're seeing is architects right now and home designers are actually thinking about how to create those environments so that you can separate your workspace from your leisure space. But it's good to know, how does your food, how do your products allow for individuals who are working from home feel that they're still getting the same usual experience. So maybe you have an energy bar and you want to offer kind of in-home office energy bar snacking, and you create a whole campaign around that. Maybe you want to think about how you can offer a dining experience that feels like you're at a restaurant, but within the home. So you partner with a company that makes candles, you partner with a company that does special dishware, and you do a campaign together so customers can have this restaurant dining where they can consume your meals at home, but they feel like they're at a restaurant. And so we're seeing more of that start to take place right now as chefs are doing virtual experiences where you feel like you're dining with the chef. And so here's an example of traditional dining. These are specifically two restaurants in Chicago. This is what they look like before, and then this is what they look like now. So they've converted half of the space is still a restaurant. Half of the space is now a market where customers can actually come and purchase products. So again, if there are restaurants near you in your neighborhood that are exploring this option so that they can increase revenue, but now you have a chance to actually sell your products in these spaces alongside them. And so it's a really great collaboration that we'll see more and more of moving forward. And that's my presentation. So any questions?
Does anyone have a question for Natalie, maybe? No? Well, Natalie, I think we learned a lot from you today. Where's the camera? Cameraman, hey, I'm here. Natalie, thank you. I have one more question for you.
Sure.
You are a very successful businesswoman. When do you find the time for family and friends?
That's a very good question. One thing, and I will say this for all the entrepreneurs that are there as well. Early on, I actually brought on an executive coach. So it's always good to talk with other entrepreneurs. It's amazing the community that you've built there. But it's important to know that it's not easy. We don't have all the answers. And being an entrepreneur can be very isolating. You're building a business on your own. You're putting your heart and soul into it. And what most people don't talk about are the mental strains and emotional challenges you face, because every day you get a customer who likes the product, you get a customer who doesn't like the product. So it's important to have the community that you've built connect with other entrepreneurs and take time away from your business 100%, not just a little bit. Don't, go for a walk, but you're on the phone taking calls. You really have to completely break away from your business, because what that allows you to do is open your mind to other opportunities. And it's hard to do. I know it's hard to do. I struggled with it myself. But if you find a way to switch your mind, so maybe it's reading a book or you start a new hobby, you will learn some new things through that help your business. It gives you great insights into, oh, I never thought about looking at my business this way. So there are business benefits to breaking away from the business. And so it's very important to balance time. I don't have the answers. I still struggle with it myself. I'm still every day trying to figure out, how do I, compartmentalize things. It's lucky I love what I do. And I think all of you feel the same way. But balance your life, find time to connect with others, and find time to utilize the community you have there. You have like-minded entrepreneurs sitting next to you, and there's nothing better than having somebody who understands what you're going through.
Natalie, thank you one more time for being us with you, being here with us. Sorry, we don't speak English.
Oh, no, that's okay. Your English is great.
That's from Croatia.
I would love to come to Croatia. Next time I will, hopefully when this is all over, I can come visit you in person.
We're waiting.